very special guest for you tonight.
Hello, we've been expecting you.
This is not a test. Your government and corporate overlords have implemented new measures for your own health and safety. We are just following orders.
Everything is going to be fine.
I'd like to introduce
Welcome everyone to another If by Whiskey. We have a special guest and he's right over there. I'm going to hand it off to Jason though. Jason, what's up, man? How you doing, buddy?
Welcome everybody and welcome to our very special guest, Adam Haman. He has a show and a Substack titled Haman Nature, not Human Nature. If you search on YouTube, you'll have to wade through some Michael Jackson songs. But you may know him from, he also does a crossover show with the economist Bob Murphy. I don't know. I've maybe heard of that guy. I'm not sure. But I understand you're also quite an experienced poker player, a libertarian, and a previous guest on my show, Drop the Mask. So welcome back, Adam. Good to see you again. How's it going?
Jason, great to see you. Mark, great to see you. I did not know you guys joined forces, like some sort of a Jedi or Sith conspiracy. What are you guys trying to do?
Well, APAC, some organization threw some money at us and they really thought we could help them push some narratives. So we collaborated.
Yeah, they got us backwards though, because we never actually say anything good about the state of Israel.
I
We
assume
can't get it out.
I assume there will be an opportunity for me to wet my beak.
Oh yes,
Yes,
there
sir.
will. There will. We'll get there. How are we doing?
Yeah, we will get there. So this is
Yes.
such an exciting event. So Adam, crazy story. Well, you and I met at Freedom Fest Vegas 2024.
True.
And we had scheduled a podcast for October of 2024. It was unfortunately canceled, rescheduled. That this is the rescheduling. So
This is it.
welcome one
I've
year
been
later.
waiting.
Sir. It's great
It's
to
only
see
been a
you.
year. That's all.
We're great
Yeah.
to have you. So
Yeah,
we're
we joined
excited to talk
forces
about
together. We make a barely serviceable podcast host when we combine our forces. So yeah, it's been working out okay. It's been good.
it.
but-
Absolutely. So please, everyone, join us in the Rumble chat. Go to If
Mhm.
by Whiskey on Rumble. That's where it's going to go. Chat's going to be coming in here pretty soon. And we'll be good to go.
There
And
has
it-
to be a story behind the title of the show.
If by Whiskey, yes. If by Whiskey refers actually to a speech that was given by a Mississippi state representative way back in the Prohibition days. He did a master political move and took both sides of the Prohibition issue in one speech. And he says, if by whiskey you mean, oh, the thing that opens up conversation, the thing that brings people together and warms your belly on a cold day, then yes, I love whiskey. And then he says, if by whiskey you mean the thing that tears families apart, the thing that ruins people's lives, yada, 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 then of course I'm against it. And it turned into a name for the logical fallacy of taking both sides in the same sentence, really.
I don't see the logical fallacy. He was a Baptist and a bootlegger. I don't see how there's a problem there.
Noah Soggy Sweat. Real name.
That's right. Yes, his nickname was Soggy.
Yeah.
But yes, it is
sir.
time for that moment
It is
to
time.
get to.
Speaking of prohibition,
Yes. The moment that sends the lizard people running back to the sewers, scrambles the CIA spy network, and alters our base reality. Yes, folks, it's our very own whiskey rebellion, known only as the Simulation Sip.
all you need is a cup, a mug, a flask, a goblet, a horn, or an ancient alien thermos filled with any beverage Big Pharma hasn't recalled yet. Could be coffee, tea, ivermectin smoothies, even whiskey. Dealer's choice.
Cheers, boys.
So join us as we raise our glasses together, confusing the AI overlords, forestalling the next CDC directive, and maybe, just maybe, waking up one more NPC. Here we go. It's good stuff.
It is
welcome
good
back.
stuff.
To our little glitch in the Matrix today. As we mentioned, we've got Adam Haman on. We got some great stuff to talk about. We did a little introduction, but is there anything else that you'd like to say as far as who you are? What do you do?
Okay, yeah, sure. I write or I podcast 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at hamannature.substack.com. That's Haman. I have a YouTube show by the same name, and as you said, if you don't put it in quotes, you will get 583 iterations of a wonderful Michael Jackson song, and then I will appear. And that
And I say trust, trust. Tell them that it's Haman Nature. Trust. All right, sorry. I had a 3-hour podcast with Taj Jackson, his oldest nephew, about the allegations. So I feel like Michael and I
You're connected.
So you came out on that side of it.
would have met him. So would have been not.
So yeah, that turns into a audio podcast also, and that's what I do. And then I am part of the leadership team for the Libertarian Party of Nevada. I live here in Las Vegas. I used to play poker for a living for about 3 decades, and then something happened, COVID, I guess. I just kind of broke my brain. I didn't want to play nice with these people anymore, so I've been sort of writing and speaking ever since.
Hey,
Do you
I
play
stopped
it all
going to
anymore?
Hollywood. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Jim.
Sorry, we both blurted out. But do you play it all anymore? Or just like any recreational, casual games, or just done?
If people come to town that I know that want to play, I'll go out with them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not like, yeah, sure, come on. And
I'll happily lose all my money again.
If this writing and talking thing doesn't pan out, eventually my big pile of money is going to dwindle to nothing, and I'll have to go out and play again. But yeah, I haven't been out in a little while. I do a little coaching.
I know you're a pro. It does atrophy.
Sure.
The skills do. It's still. I got a
If
story.
you
We'll share
even-
offline because I don't want to bore you with poker stuff. But what's funny is, like, we talk with the libertarian stuff. Remember when that motorcycle guy robbed the Planet Hollywood or the Caesars, took all those
Sure.
chips, and they said no hoodies anymore? I stopped going to any place that refused to allow me to wear any kind of clothing. I was like libertarian even about where I'd go by what they'd allow me to wear.
I think that guy was, they caught that guy pretty quick. It wasn't very smart.
Yeah, I got him pretty quick within a couple weeks.
Anybody want to cash this cranberry? What? Where are the cops coming from?
Anyways, yeah,
All right.
people, everybody,
welcome,
go
man.
subscribe to Haman Nature on Substack. Follow the show on YouTube. It's really good. I do have one small bone to pick, though, not about you or
Who's,
Tyrone, but
Who's legacy right?
Oh,
that
legacy,
is-
right. There we go.
That's our friend
Um,
Zach.
I'll take that. Structure is embedded in human nature. Hierarchies are a
How about
part
that one?
of the fabric of reality. You can't get away from structure.
Yeah, and Adam, if you see a comment in there, jump right in, grab it. We got to pull these up. We look, we could call our show tangents, really, but we're just bouncing around. We're stream of conscious. This is all just free flow. We're here for ideas. So welcome. We're so grateful that you came. Thanks.
Care to
Freedom
answer this
Uncut.
one? We're all
Very-
in our mother's basements at the moment.
I'm not going to point any fingers. I am in,
Anyways.
I'm a happily married adult in my own den. It's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. Thank you, Freedom Uncut. I am honored.
And we'll
Yes.
talk offline about free too. We'll have a conversation and we'll get it all taken care of.
Let's do it.
Anyway, I had a small bone to pick. I've been listening to you and Tyrone review a book called Economics in 3 Lessons. And this is nothing against you or the book. It's a good, fine book. My gripe is, didn't we already have economics in 1 lesson? Now we have to do 2 more. You know that quote that's like, I would have written a shorter letter, but I didn't have time. Is this just intellectual laziness on the part of the author?
Laziness? Look, I don't understand what your problem is, guy. Don't you get how numbers work? 3 is 3 times more than 1. You're complaining because we're giving you more?
Dude, don't you remember when 8-minute ads became 7-minute
Right.
ads, became 6-minute ads, became 5-minute ads, became
What are you,
4-minute
crazy?
ads, became
No,
3-minute
8.
ads?
8's the thing.
He went up. He went up in 3. He went up 2. He jumped. He triple dog dared. He jumped the norms, the social norms. I applaud it. I
When
applaud it.
Tyrone first came up with the idea of doing this bit, which we're going to go through the whole book. I don't care how low our viewership numbers go.
Hey, I like it.
I made the same joke, but he really did a pretty good job with that book. And once we get through the 3 lessons, there's 100 examples, which should be really, really fun.
Yes, looking forward to it. It really is good stuff, so I appreciate it. So you do not just libertarian stuff, but you do philosophical and cultural critiques as well. And before we get into too much of the mudslinging at each other as libertarians, I did want to ask you about a recent article you wrote for your Substack, because what we're all trying to do here really is explain and understand the world around us. We each have different interpretations of things, but that effort to make the explanation is, at least for me, something that's kind of euphoric in itself. Like, I will hear someone explain something in a new way that really resonates and get goosebumps, right? Like, it just hits the right nerve. So anyway, you talk about David Deutsch's book, The Beginning of Infinity, where you say that his core thesis is that good explanations are the universe's ultimate replicators. So can we talk about what does that mean to you, and what does it mean for the greater thing that we're trying to do here?
Yeah, I've got this crazy idea that there's something about human life that can beat back the heat death of the universe, entropy, and not just in the local way where we feed off the energy of the sun, but everything eventually dissipates. You know, it's a math problem you can't solve. And I have no good reason for this intuition except that there's something about life that causes order to increase rather than decrease. And since I don't know very much about the nature of the cosmos, and neither does any other pointy-headed academic, you know, we're looking into it. We've made great strides, but we're still stumbling around in the darkness. So I'm holding on to this intuition that somehow something about our increasing our knowledge, and that's more than just, you know, what we create on Netflix or whatever, but increasing our true or truer explanations of the universe, something about that can go on and improve and increase, and I don't know where that bound is. And David Deutsch, I read his one of his earlier books, The Fabric of Reality, and there's things he says I don't buy. Like, he is bound and determined to convince you that we can only explain quantum mechanics by reference to the multiverse. And I do not claim to understand quantum mechanics, but I just can't wrap my head around how these infinite universes can possibly be real in any sense. And not just like real, but we have to tunnel through interdimensional space to reach them, but like real and interactive.
Multi-dimension. It's a simulation, Adam. It's
Well,
a
that's
simulation. Come on, man.
That's the other way to go.
Get your conspiracy theory right about what is going on with the universe, sir.
As a good libertarian, I reserve the right to believe all these things all at once.
Yeah.
I love the simulation theory. I don't think there's any reason to believe it's true, but I love it. It's a great framework to make you not depressed about things. Anyway, so I haven't finished this book that you just referenced, Jason. What is it? The Beginning of Infinity.
Yeah.
But I'm this Deutsch guy is clearly intelligent, so it makes me happy that he, at least there's one smart person who believes the insane thing that I'm leaning towards wanting to believe.
Is that all we really do? Is just kind of a confirmation bias in circles?
It feels good, right? What do you
Yeah,
want to hear?
Artists supporting artists. It's
You want to hear things that disagree with you? That's no fun. Yeah, we got way more than 3 channels now. What's the point of that?
Wait a minute. You're not on the Boomer Social Network? That's all I get. I am the only guy who's called a fascist, Nazi, and a libtard in the same comment or just in adjacent comments. It's impressive.
Probably based on the same sentence. One sentence you say, and you get both at once.
Yeah, today I posted, I said, I want a principled uprising, not a populist one. And it's gotten a lot of feedback. Now, obviously, that's a very short claim. There's a lot of nuance to that, but like on its face, it's not the worst statement to make.
It's also great because it's a Rorschach test. You know, who's to say what populism means or what principles you're exactly referencing? So I can either pat you on the back or throw tomatoes at you, depending on which side of that I land up on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we know you, Mark. We know your principles.
I'm not going to waver. I'm not wavering on the wind like a Buttigieg or anybody, right? You know.
He has principles. Terrible.
He does.
Terrible.
They're just wrong.
Terrible principles.
He's had Principal Johnny and Principal Steven and Principal Michael.
Don't forget the chief of police. Wasn't he a mayor?
Mayor Pete.
Mayor
But
Pete.
Well, speaking of autism, a lot of libertarians found out. I guess it's been a couple weeks. It's a little bit old news by now, but Trump and the Maha Coalition announced Tylenol during pregnancy actually is a cause, maybe the cause of autism. We have a clip here.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. But with Tylenol, don't take it. Don't take it. And if you can't live, if your fever is so bad, you have to take one because there's no alternative to that. Sadly, first question, what can you take instead? It's actually, there's not an alternative to that. And as you know, other of the medicines are absolutely proven bad. I mean, they've been proven bad with the aspirins and the Advils and others, right? And they've been proven bad. So I'd like.
I don't care what anybody else says. I'm going to miss that guy when he's gone. You tell me you're not going to miss that?
Okay, hold on. We listen. Did he not just
Nothing
have a
bad.
stroke when he started? Listen to his first statement.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
It can only,
Can only good
with
happen.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. Waffle.
Now, hold on. Robert De Niro delivered that exact line in Goodfellas. It was an implied threat or something. Look, we're overlooking the most important thing about this. He and Bobby Jr. are declaring war on the Libertarian Party. If they're going to cure autism, what the hell? Are we the last ones?
We're out of a job at that point. Yeah.
We're at the end of libertarianism. Everyone else is just going to point and laugh when we open our mouths and say things.
I know. We might be
we
the
should
last.
live in peace and freedom.
We might be the last libertarian generation if this holds up. But I think we're in luck because we saw a bunch of moms going on TikTok and downing bottles of Tylenol in protest of this statement because it's obviously so ridiculous.
I haven't abandoned all hope in human nature, so I choose to believe that those chicks were just a little chunky and not actually pregnant.
We can only hope. We can only hope.
Everyone on the left is a little chunky. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Is that allowed?
Aren't we all?
From this
Yeah, because like
house,
vegetarians, I love how vegans and vegetarians are like, yeah, I don't eat meat. I'm healthy. I'm like, all you stuff your face with is bread.
Don't forget
Okay.
chocolate.
Sure. Oh, vegan chocolate. Held together with the stuff that's held the bean burger together or whatever.
Yeah. Well, on a more serious note, there's another medical announcement that we have to probably address. Maybe there's not too much to say about it, but we gotta bring this up because after what we saw in the COVID years, to have the president saying stuff like this is pretty, I wouldn't say shocking, but disturbing that he can't seem to learn that simple lesson. So we can play, and then we'll talk about it.
We are ready to invest, as the president also mentioned, $70 billion in the next few years from Pfizer in manufacturing and research in America alone. I really think this is an historical moment because also I can put that behind us and focus on the things that I want to spend my time. Cancer treatments, to bring better obesity medicines, to bring better vaccines, to bring things that people value. And thank you for allowing us to do that.
Where are the other companies other than Pfizer? Are you expecting them to come
They're all
later?
with us. And I was honored to have Albert be the first. He's done a fantastic job with, as you know, with the COVID. He did a fantastic job with a lot of things. He's a leader, and Pfizer is right at the top. You know,
And he's probably the first trade representative that I have seen that cares about our industry and cares to do something about unfair situations out there.
So we're going to reinvest 70 billion of the over 100 billion. Only this is like 30, 40 billion left from the COVID shit that we stole from you before to put in our pockets, but we'll reinvest like a third of it back. So we'll give you minions back your pound of flesh while we take 10.
The Donald is a good mob boss. I mean, he does know how to get a little bit of a kickback.
Look behind me. Look right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Godfather
that's the guy. Offer they can't refuse. Wasn't the first
Gonna make
one
an offer.
Wasn't the first one Intel? He got 10% of the highly
Nationalized
heavily
intel by 10%.
Chinese fella, and then this guy with the accent. If we're going to dive straight back into fascism, can we at least have nice, wholesome, middle of the country American accented guys at the top of these companies?
Oh, but we got Ellison and TikTok. You've not seen that pedophile creepazoid? You've not seen that guy, like that weaselly, sharp-faced whatever thing he is, collecting our data and just...
I don't want to join the rabid, hysterical, illiterate left who throws the word fascism around, but that's what that is, right? And people are saying, like, yeah, but, the government invests in these things, and so the public should get a kickback. I'm like, yeah, that's why you shouldn't have public financing of these ostensibly private companies. That's insane. That's why that's bad. And one of the great features of a free market, if we can remember what those look like, is you have dynamic competition. Well, how in the world is any young, scrappy, up-and-coming company going to go up against these guys who are literally against companies that are not only huge and entrenched, but mobbed up with the federal government? You're a venture capitalist. You want to sink a few $100 billion into some new company that's going to go up against Pfizer? I think not. Same with Intel. Right. And if the ostensible purpose of these things is national security, you don't improve things by making the system that generates these ideas and these products and these systems less dynamic. You're ossifying your defense if that's what you care about. You didn't see too much innovation in the Soviet Union, for example. And people say 10% is nothing. Sounds like a lot to me. And if they're claiming these are non-voting shares, I'd like to ask who the hell you think you're talking to. Look at the mob boss there behind Mark, and think about what you know of Donald Trump or the next guy. You think you need voting shares?
BlackRock and Vanguard and Blackstone have all our shares anyway. They're voting on behalf in chunks on our behalf anyway. So they're taking out, it's like right now they're stealing our tax dollars to buy gold to back their CBDC or something in some weird way, pumping up that price so we can't even buy in anymore, right? Because that's going to have to. We're at 4,000 now. I know there's a correction coming. It's somebody's going to dump it, right? They did it with silver.
That's the thing. Even if you didn't have voting shares, you could just threaten to dump the stock, and then you think the CEO is not going to listen to you. And here's what really grinds my gears. If you think back to the ESG DEI thing, this is kind of an improvement. We're only getting fascists with a couple of industries rather than just getting the whole thing mobbed up with this crazy ESG scores, which is just mandating socialist, the Communist Manifesto into all of capitalism or something. This is terrible and awful, and it's better than what we were headed for, 5 to 10 years ago. It's crazy.
I suppose that's a good way to put it in perspective. Yeah, things could be worse.
Back to the simulation theory. This is why I don't just bash my head against the wall. This video game is cooking up. I can't wait to see what the final bosses are. I hope I have another quarter so I can play it again.
Well, seriously, somebody clicked chaos mode about 6 years ago. They just clicked that, when you're playing Sims and you got the one where you could just let the tornado, earthquake, fire, all that shit out. Come on. We're to your point. We're talking about 41% of Black-owned businesses shuttered during COVID. 41%. Largest upward transfer of wealth. And here these people are shouting that we got to fight these corporations. Many regulations help the corporations. They lobby on behalf of them to help them. Do you think they're lobbying on behalf to help you for competition? No, they don't want competition.
They write half of the regulations. Before any regulation.
Statism. Communism, fascism, any control by the state, it's the same thing. If you talk about an ideological political line, it's actually a globe, and the fascists and the communists are literally just next to each other at the end of the globe, like if it was around the equator on a political scale, We're on this end of it, completely other side of it.
We had them scared for half a second right after all the bailouts in 2008, when the left and the right were sort of getting the same vision, this hazy vision that maybe the government is in bed with these big banks and big corporations to horse fuck the rest of us. And just before we got to that kumbaya moment, they said, hey, racism and sexism is pretty bad. And how about this trans thing? Fight. And then we've been fighting.
That's what they did. And then they're burning books. They had a whole book burning session in the middle of Occupy Wall Street.
And the strategy worked. It's crazy. But what gets me about
Obama
this
got
is that
reelected. Obama got reelected as in the most racist country in the entire universe, apparently. Multiverse, apparently, even.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah. What gets me about this announcement especially is, of course, the fascism element is a big deal. But 2 weeks ago, Trump is saying, hey, we got to look at these vaccines. We think they're causing problems. Maybe autism is involved. And then a week later, he's signing a big deal with Pfizer, and they're talking about more vaccines. They're talking about this is what people want. And the industry has been unfair to us, is the comment he made at the end. The guy from Pfizer, the German dude. It's been unfair to us, right?
The dude from Moderna received that decapitated horse head in his bed sheets. So at least we don't have to worry about Pfizer.
Yeah, goodness.
Wasn't Pfizer the company that was being given Suzette Kilo's little pink house up there in the Northeast, that eminent domain township? I'm pretty sure it is. They took
I did not hear about that.
Yeah, this was 2005, I think. They made a movie about it. You'll have to look it up. But yeah, the township took this whole neighborhood, including this plucky lady, Suzette Kilo, who didn't want to leave her little pink house, and they grabbed it for eminent domain. And it wasn't to build a library or a post office or a road or turnpike. It was literally to give it to Pfizer, I believe, to build a plant, because the public interest hook is that the tax base will be higher if Pfizer owns those properties. Went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court sided with New London, Connecticut, I think was the township. Pfizer won, and then public outpouring of horror all across the country, such that state legislatures made that illegal in their own states. And they never even, I think the land is just lying there now, vacant. They didn't even build the Pfizer thing.
Little pink houses for you and me.
Yeah.
Look at
John
what's it, Snapdragon? What's that, Snapdragon? Or somebody started a plant up in Michigan, Illinois, somewhere up there, Ohio, and it's just sitting there. 20 billion was invested, and it never got constructed. It's just sitting there. What's that, 1/4 of a mile of that super track in California? You know, the train track. You're like, okay, government helps, I guess.
Do you guys think this Tylenol thing? I mean, my conspiracy head leads me to believe that, the government and these pharmaceutical companies got in bed and forced the jab on a bunch of people who did not want it, upon threat of losing your job and social ostracization. You can't go to the grocery store. I mean, you all know it. It got really bad. And then there's the fact that a whole bunch of people think that it causes or exacerbates or something autism. And it seems to me like the play to distract the public is to throw them a bone of this tiny little thing that's off patent, and who cares? And, oh yeah, we're really sticking it to them. Thank goodness government's here to protect us from these big companies.
And they've already absolved themselves. It's like they've already written, we don't recommend it. The doctor recommends it. We don't recommend Tylenol. Like, they've got plausible deniability here too.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
They let Zantac be on for 40 years and create cancer for, I got a tummy ache. I got a little antacid issue. Oh, let's give you cancer instead. Maybe that'll fix your antacid problem.
I don't hold out a lot of hope that we can fix this regulatory problem, this big government problem, but we have become culturally over-medicalized, and we can all in our own lives just resist that. You're supposed to let the fever burn until it becomes something that's, kind of intolerable. So maybe you just shouldn't pop a bunch of acetaminophen at the slightest little inconvenience, or you're not supposed to let it cook your brain, don't go over 104 or something crazy like that. But yeah. I think we've just gotten so accustomed to, I feel a little owie and I'm not quite happy, so let me take a whole handful of pills. And we don't need to overthrow the government in order to shift our mentality along at least those lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real shame, because after the COVID fiasco, after all that the medical field did to us and proved that they were basically incompetent, now I have a daughter on the way, and I have to think about these things, where before I would have been like, yeah, okay, doctors recommend this, it seems fine, they've tested it, now I know how they test things. Now I know what that means
Yeah, they
and
don't.
what the
They
FDA
just
does.
don't.
Now I'm like, I don't trust any of this. I have to go back and rethink all of it.
Well, remember
And-
the lesson from earlier. If 70 vaccines are good, well, 210 got to be 3 times better, right?
Yes,
It's
yes.
like three lessons of economics. I'm
Exactly.
totally with you.
I
I'm
think,
buying in. I think Adam just sold me. I think I bought in. Let's
I
do
think,
it. Let's go to 630 vaccines. Just jab them right in the first 3 months. Just put an IV. Have the baby, like when they start walking, walk around with that little IV thing. It holds them up. They
Yeah,
can use it
permanent-
as like a crutch.
A permanent pick.
I
line
think
right
genius.
Here. Just never take
Genius.
it out. I do think RFK gave some advice along with whatever the recent things were. You know, take a good long look at any of these. You probably don't need that one that you give right after birth because that's insane. Because you're probably not having sex as a fetus or an infant.
Yeah. To clarify, hepatitis B is the first shot.
That's crazy.
And it's for drug use and like sexual transmitted disease. Like that's how you get it. So if the mother doesn't have it, there is no reason for this child to have any kind of closeness to this shot. It is unbelievable. Candace Owens took her baby home right away. They came to her door. They knocked on her door and they're like, why didn't you take all the shots? She's like, screw you.
Meanwhile, they probably haven't collected the garbage because that's a union thing. Yeah, so if it were me, I'd just take a good long look and only pick the ones that seem to make sense and space those things out. And I don't know, it's a tough, because you're supposed to be able to trust these experts. Because what do I got to do? Get a medical degree to be a father? It's insane, but you kind of do, because they lie to you.
Stuff where, like Cohen's work, right, with children who have medical conditions, and the state comes in, and because they get funded for abuse, whatever, versus like an actual medical condition, they're like, oh, that was abuse. That wasn't actually a medical condition. And then they fight. They separate the wife from the father. They take away the other kid, and you're like, oh, right, that's the trick. That's how you keep everything working, is separate everyone.
Yeah, shout out to You Are the Power, Spike Cohen's thing. I just joined it at an onboarding call scheduled. I might end up becoming the state organizer here or something, but that guy does great work. He learned real
absolutely
quickly.
And shout out to Rebecca Massey, who was his handler during Freedom Fest this year. She ran him. She had it down. She was totally running the show. So shout out to her. She's done a lot of work in Arizona as well.
Yeah, she's the regional coordinator for our little area here. And he's just, he ran for vice president under Joe Jorgensen in the most tyrannical period of government overreach, of the last 20 years probably.
And she didn't help.
She did not help. And he came away from that immediately and said, well, this was dumb. How about I just go out and help real people and not
just help people directly? What a novel idea.
Yeah, it's so good on him. That's brilliant.
Yep. Maj also, Adam Coleman, be the change you want to see, right? That's kind of the clue. Any comments?
And here we are
down there before we continue. Oh, sorry.
Just running our mouths on this little podcast.
The message, we're trying. We're
changing the world.
I'd like to.
We're not trying to change the world. We're trying to change the world. We think we can. We're trying. I don't know if we are.
I'd like to get out there and help, but my narcissism just keeps me right here, writing and talking into a microphone.
Can't help it.
What am I going to do?
It's a special kind of autism.
You got to wear a mask when you go out. With that narcissism, it's contagious.
I spit at people.
Well, hey, on the topic of libertarians, this is something that you also covered on a couple of shows. But after the Charlie Kirk shooting, Jimmy Kimmel got in trouble for saying that, oh, yeah, this is MAGA trying to blame anyone but themselves. He was unceremoniously put on indefinite leave, which turned out to be, a few days, and then was let back on. But the interesting part...
Plus Monday, maybe? One day?
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah, that was it. The interesting part of this, though, is that people are saying, oh, this is a free speech issue. And to some extent, I think it is. To some extent, I think it's not. But you guys covered this, you and Bob, and then you and Tyrone, I think, also did a show about it. Yeah. What do we think about Dave's comments here? I still watch Part of the Problem regularly. It's great. I usually can predict kind of the general thing of what Dave's going to say, but in this case, it was a little surprising. Made me think a little bit. not sure what to make of it. So maybe we can discuss a little.
Now, by the way, to protect my libertarian street cred here, and I don't, I mean this, I'm not saying it just to protect that, but just to be clear here, I'm against the FCC existing. I'm against the FCC threatening companies. I think it was counterproductive and just wrong and incredibly stupid for the FCC chair to start threatening ABC the way that he did there. But I don't necessarily agree with some other libertarians who, in a sense, are arguing like that Jimmy Kimmel's free speech is being violated here. And this might upset some people when I say this, but I'll kind of try to explain my thinking about this once again. I'm not exactly trying to convince you. I'm more just trying to, let's think about things like this together. But I would say that that Jimmy Kimmel is in effect, in function, he's a part of the regime. And he has been for a long time now. And I just view things differently. I don't view the regime as having rights the way all the rest of us do. I'm not just randomly assigning like regime to Jimmy Kimmel. I think he joined the regime a long time ago.
All right. So because Kimmel is supposedly part of the regime, the free speech rule doesn't apply. What do you think, Adam?
Well, I did 2 whole episodes on this, so my thoughts are complex. My initial rejoinder is we really should have a simpler system, one that scales, is Adam Haman decides who can and cannot be censored and what could go wrong.
That would make it easier, yeah.
So Dave sort of said 2 different things. He didn't think the FCC should exist. He doesn't think it should be censoring people. But then he said we should make an arbitrary, admittedly, mark in the sand as to who is a state actor and who isn't, who is the regime and who isn't. And he tried to analogize that to there's no universal rule about how old you have to be to drive a car. You make an arbitrary sort of decision and then choose. But the difference is that age is a single line with 2 poles, birth and death. So you know exactly who is at what point along the line, 14 or 15 or 16. Deciding who is a regime intellectual or the like, there's nothing like that. It could range from Jimmy Kimmel to a think tank who's talking about the defense of the country to a little old lady who wants another library. Anytime you want to use the power of the state to steal money from other people or order them around, you are, to the extent you have any kind of a voice, you're a regime intellectual, right? There's really it's not just arbitrary, it's incoherently arbitrary. So
you get the French Revolution.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a guillotine.
And the problem that we're living through is this horrible overarching power that we're all fighting and grasping for. That's the problem. That's why we're at each other's throats. You don't make that go away by grabbing even more. So he was sort of talking out of both sides of his mouth, and I get his point. I mean, I wanted Jimmy Kimmel gone as soon as he said, "Rest in peace, Wheezy." To hell with that guy. But the market is how a free people deals with this. And if we're not free, if it's just when our guys are in power, we get to axe a few foot soldiers, and when their guys are in power, they get to flame a few of our foot soldiers, we're fighting. And we can't pretend to exist in a single polity when what we're really doing is fighting. We either need to secede, or we need to secede, or we need to secede. We can't exist in the same polity with people if it's just, you better hope we don't get more numbers of votes, or fraudulently tell the citizenry that we got more numbers of votes, because this isn't a country. This isn't anything that's stable. We're just literally in a usually you say civil war at this point, but I don't want to take over Washington, D.C. I just don't want it to control me anymore. And I think that's the way out of it. Smaller political divisions, ideally, Rothbardianly, down to the individual. We'll make our own associations, but the smaller the better as far as political decentralization. And so, yeah, I don't agree. I thought it was, Dave did come around and say this was tactically unsound. The market had ousted Kimmel. And I agree with that, but I think it goes beyond tactics. If we are really at the point where we seize the power of government and start excommunicating the lefties, you're not thinking along the right dimension. You can't state power your way into a stable victory. You have to not be in the same unit where California's votes don't tell the people in Alabama, for example, how to live, and vice versa. If we're all just fighting over the ring of power, we're screwing up. Read the damn book again. You throw the ring of power into the volcano because no good can come of it.
Yeah, I think that's
What's
right.
the name
I
of
think,
Palantir? What's Palantir named after? Right,
Isn't
Jason.
that
got it.
crazy?
Right.
Isn't that crazy? The Seeing Stone.
yeah.
Tolkien would bitch slap Peter Thiel and Alex Karp. Just bitch slap him.
Jason, what are
Yeah.
you thinking, man?
Yeah, thanks for keeping it light. But yeah, I think you're right that that's the whole reason behind at least assuming that this was a political hit on Charlie Kirk, that this was because of his political views, which seems rational. Assuming that's all true, that's the reason why, is because people will see that and they know that if this guy controls enough influence and power, he's going to force it on me. And I don't want his version of society to exist. So that they felt strong enough that they had to kill him to try to stop that. So yeah, you're right. I think the way out of that is not to have 100% winner take all control over everything in society. Let's split it up. You guys can try your thing over there. We can try ours over here. I don't see any problems with that, except that I don't think the federal government will let it happen.
No. On the other hand, neither did the leaders of Rome. But at a certain point, they screw up so much that the sand runs through their fingers, and they just can't. We just ignore them, and there's nothing they can do. I mean, the feds.
Yeah, but
didn't
how
want-
are those times during the transition?
Oh,
like
this
is always my
chaos.
argument. My
Yeah.
argument is like right now, time is good. Coming out of it, or the next iteration, time will be good again, right? Like we know these points are correct.
Mhm.
This part is the part that I don't really want to go through, man. I'm sorry. I want to live only through the good stuff.
Especially given how dependent we are on long supply chains. Like, in the Roman days, if you were sort of nowhere near the center of power when the emperor's power sort of dissipated, these are kind of good times. We're okay. We weren't depending on trade that much. But if things really break down, a lot of us are going to starve to death and start murdering, our neighbors. It's going to be super ugly. And I don't know, unless we have a massive conversion of culture where people realize that the sphere of government power needs to shrink drastically. Otherwise, we're all going to kill each other. Unless some sitcom adopts that as its theme and makes it into a punchline and makes us all feel good at the end of every half-hour episode, unless something like that happens, I don't see a peaceful way to get from here to there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm afraid it might have to get
Hard.
worse before it gets better. But here's a good question from our friend Justin. Is there any evidence to lead us to believe that people can coexist in any serious scale? I guess that's a subjective measure, but without conflict with each other. Seems to be part of the human process.
Conflict is for sure part of the human process. What you want is a system that mitigates it as best as possible. We used to get a lot of that by just sticking within homogenous groups so that we all sort of felt like we are all one in some sense. And religions can help expand that into a larger system. I used to think, and I guess I still do, that complete free market, private property, freedom of association, free markets can also be a system that everyone can feel like it's okay that we're all playing the same game. It's that old thing. Milton Friedman probably said this. On the streets of New York, a Jew will raise his hand, and an Arab will pull up in a taxi cab and take him from point A to point B. Money changes hands, and nobody talks about land or religion or anything like that. And I do at least believe that, pure anarchy, no government involvement, no force or the initiation of force. I think that does scale. I guess I used to be a little bit more happy that, like in the late 80s and early 90s, I thought we were getting there. Maybe I was just young and goofy, but I thought we were sort of gliding into the point where
The 90s were
they
the
were right.
ideal time.
I wasn't just imagining that, right?
Because we still didn't know about that. We were still ignorant to the stuff.
And I wasn't
it
even
was
paying
like we hadn't
attention.
gotten into Iraq yet.
I wasn't even paying
It was
attention.
like right before.
To Bosnia and Serbia, the Eastern Europe.
It was unipolar moment. 91 unipolar moment for about 5 years. 10 years was this beautiful utopian.
Yeah, and we all got to watch the
Thanks, bro.
smart bombs kick the crap out of Saddam Hussein. It was great. We were all heroic. But anyway, I
Can you
think
bring that up again, Jason? Too. The thing about it is, like, I'm not worried about the conflict. It's the conflict resolution that we need to manage.
Yeah.
Conflict's going to happen. How we manage the resolution or how we resolve the conflict is really the challenge. And I think with technology, whatever, to your point, it's scalable. It can be done much more peacefully than ever is needed in the past.
Stefan Kinsella just wrote up with a partner or two these great principles of liberty, kind of thing that could be the bedrock of some society's legal system. You know, it doesn't answer every question, but it points you in the right direction and lays out some specific principles. And these are all incredibly scalable. But what has to happen is everybody has to buy in and think they're playing the same game. But if you've just spent a bachelor's and a master's and a PhD in gender studies and identitarian Marxism, you're not interested in playing that game. And the same for somebody who just got here from some third world country where, yeah, I don't like this system. How about we just completely make over this system? You'll let us vote.
And you're going to go $100,000 in debt, and you're not going to get a job because your ideology has totally twisted your worldview, and you can't cooperate with people in the world to make things happen.
But the trouble is, like, I think this scales, and I think this is the way that we can all live in relative peace. As you said, Mark, the conflicts can be resolved. But who in the world, if you're coming up as a kid or a young adult, who are you going to look at in politics or even academia to think that that's even a thing that's possible? Like, the three of us sound like madmen. You're not going to, I mean, the right sometimes talks about limited government, but then they get in power and you see how they act. No, they don't. Mm-hmm. And the left tells you what they're going to give you, good and hard. And a lot of people want it because, what, is this crony thing where Pfizer, you know, is in bed with the mob and the military-industrial complex does everything it wants? You're telling me this is free market capitalism? To hell with that. I don't even blame these people anymore. Where are they going to get the idea that there's a better way? We've just deviated from it by about 1 million miles. I don't even know.
I love the parts of the simulation when, like, Joe Lieberman switches from blue to red, and then somebody goes from red to blue, and then the other guy, and then it's like part of that scenario thing you have to play through to get to the next level. Those are my favorite parts of this simulation right now that we're talking about.
I'm already writing my after action report for this video game. I have comments. I laughed. I cried. I was confused. This sim is great.
The camera angles are off.
Wild. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. I think we got enough on that Dave Smith thing, but he was, I don't know if you saw yesterday, it came out maybe 2 days ago. He did this interview with Coleman Hughes. So if you can skip to the next one, Mark.
3.5 hours.
He did 3.5 hours. I only got about an hour, 20 minutes into it, but there was some good stuff. And there's one clip that people seem to be picking up on where they seem to be arguing past each other. They just cannot understand each other's point. So I thought this was interesting. Maybe we can react to it. And if you want to pause at any point, let us know. We'll pause and we can talk.
The fact is that much of what he said came true, and that's what makes it interesting. If we had never invaded Libya.
Yeah, maybe we set this up a little bit, actually. What he's talking about is the memo that says we're going to attack 7 countries in 5 years. And of course, it didn't happen in 5 years, but I believe 6 of the 7 countries have had some major military intervention, if not a full regime change. So that's where we are with this.
And I did watch I watched like almost 3 of the 3.5 hours. I think I got through 2.5, if not more. Mm-hmm. It's hard. We'll talk about it. Let me share it now.
Yeah. The fact is that much of what he said came true, and that's what makes it interesting. If we had never invaded Libya, never invaded Syria, never, taken any of the actions that we took in the war on terrorism, then yeah, it would be much less relevant that a general said he saw that the decision had been made in 2001.
Okay. Well, everyone else in the room does not say the decision had been made. And he was not in these rooms making these decisions with the Secretary of Defense and the National Security Advisor and George Bush.
So it's just a complete coincidence that we went and overthrew those regimes that he heard that we were going to.
We have contingency plans for all kinds of
things. Again, that's not what this is what Douglas Murray tried to do too. It's not a contingency plan.
When you're the Pentagon writing 60 memos a day, I guarantee you will troll those memos and find information and plans for every possible contingency in the world. The burden is still on you.
This is not what we're talking about.
Out one out of the 60,000 and say that this was important. But can we get to Sharon?
Yeah, it's a good place to pause. Yeah, so they're talking past each other. Coleman is hung up on this specific memo. This memo, the clean break strategy. We need to go into all these countries in the next 5 years. That was apparently confirmed by General Wesley Clark, who said he didn't actually see the memo, which Coleman got hung up on that point. We didn't actually see the memo, but yes, my superior told me this is the plan, and it's already been decided. And almost all of these things have happened, and Coleman can't seem to grasp that point. So, what do you think about Dave's side here? Is he making that point persuasively, or what's missing here?
This was a glove that at least landed on Dave. Like a lot of people say, Coleman is Dave's best, most capable opponent on this issue thus far, and that's probably true. I think not this week, but the next, Bob and I are going to go through this whole thing because Bob's fascinated by it, and so am I. Dave's point is this: the general is credible. Whether he saw a memo or not, he was told by someone he trusted that this was the plan. It fits completely into the worldview of the neocons who have written and spoken on this subject at length. And then the government went and did it. And it's only through a miracle that we haven't already tried a regime change in Iran, but we did all the other 6. That's Dave's point. And Coleman's point is, well, there's a blizzard of ideas and contingencies and pied-eyed dreams of militaristic campaigners, and all these ideas get floated around the Pentagon. And there was probably one that said we were going to conquer Mongolia and turn it into a football stadium or something. His point being that it doesn't matter what any general said ever with any piece of paper, because it was just a blizzard of anything. And so, yeah, this piece of data just is irrelevant. It should be thrown away. You can't be taken seriously. And I thought Coleman could have even made that point stronger. He was so caught up on that punchline, the memo he didn't see, the memo he never read. He was being a little cagey. But in general, that's like the strongest glove I've ever seen anybody lay on Dave, and I still don't think it matters in the slightest. Because,
and why?
Because it's not just that this one guy said this thing. It's that it completely dovetails with everything we know about the neocon philosophy. And it's not like some Zionist thing necessarily either. In the unipolar moment, we were supposed to, according to these people, reach out and touch every place on earth because we can, turn it into a liberal wonderland, and we will never have to deal with these horrible violence problems again. And, and if your biggest quote-unquote ally in the region is telling you what should happen over there, then or you do things to go over there and help them because, hey, they're a liberal
enforcing freedom
too.
at the end of a barrel, right?
Yeah, and if you don't look too close at what's going on over there in greater Israel, they're a democracy. But I think that the reason it is meaningful is because it's not just hearsay, and it's not just, what some senile general says somebody told him. It just dovetails with everything that it's not the ideology even, it's the plan, the worldview of the neocons. It's everything that they said that they were going to do or they thought should be done. And then we did it. And, it's not like this is a QED geometric proof, but I think it's meaningful. And I don't know, even if that thing wasn't proven, I still don't think it underscores that all these things were bad. Am I going to try and argue because General Wesley Clark was wrong that overthrowing Gaddafi was a good thing? Or turning Syria over to Al-Qaeda, was that all of a sudden a good thing because we didn't read the memo from the neocons and Clark was hallucinating? I don't even understand he landed a glove, I'll grant you. I just don't understand what it means anything. If I were a judge, I wouldn't even give him a point.
I think Coleman was the absolute most prepared person of all the people who have had a conversation with him.
For
sure. When he was on Rogan, all I could do is yell the counter to him for all the bullshit that he was spewing, but he had at least a lot of backup for what he was saying. They weren't connected though. He just finds a way to connect them. It everything was straw man. And I, Jason, I do think we should dissect this as well. I think we should this is important for everyone needs to watch this debate. They did not get personal, which is beautiful. They did not really, they give a little snippy,
a little bit,
not much, a little bit. But I mean, have you seen the woman on Piers or anything? Now, the other point of this, I have to be clear. This letter thing, I was yelling at the thing. Did no one watch Wesley Clark change his story when he talked on Piers Morgan?
Yeah,
they redug it up through an Israeli-funded think tank. So he did see the plans for this thing. And at some point when he said, we're a go, I'm sure they had a conversation. He goes, yeah, I knew about that. We heard about that years ago. Yeah. Oh, I guess they brought that back. Like, duh. Like, to not think that a 4-star general who was head of NATO would have no information, scuttlebutt even, that something was happening. Like, it's a little hard to call. And Somalia has been bombed the most ever by Trump this year, even though it's not taken over yet. Who beat his
done the
own
most
record
bombs
by-
you've ever seen. It's
Right.
incredible.
beaten by the record set by Trump 45 in I think 2019 or 17, something with 65. So once again, great work by Dave DeCamp, Kyle Anzalone, AnnieWar.com. We are all official Hortoniers here, just to be clear. Like we read enough already. We saw all this stuff. We're very familiar with all this stuff for sure, especially our audience as well. And once again, Jason, you want to read this stuff from Justin here, and we've got it. Mama Steph is on. Welcome. This be awesome.
Welcome. Yeah, Justin said, to be fair, this did happen in potentially the most politically unstable region in the world, so it makes sense that U.S. involvement for the region would be discussed. Fair point.
Yeah, it is a fair point. And I didn't think that Dave should talk about the realness or not of the memo, because Coleman's point is, there's 50,000 memos. They all say something. You're going to look at what we did and then go back and find the memo that proves it was all a big plan and probably committed by Israel. It's not persuasive.
He's right. But once again, he deflected because his story wasn't correct what he was arguing. Wesley Clark went in and heard about this memo thing. And when he came back, he said, it's worse than that. It's like, it was two story. It was 2 times. And they're kind of focused on one part of those two. It's like, well, with the second visit where he said it's been increased, it adds depth to that story, clearly.
Yeah. And again, whether or not that memo was really there and really said what it said, it doesn't matter because the wars happened.
It's
we went and interviewed.
Yeah. Memo or no.
Yeah.
And Coleman, he was really well researched, did a lot of background, and he argued a bunch of points that I thought were really weaselly, but he argued them well. But then he also just sounded like a different demographic of Bill Kristol's talking points. He just said goofy pro-war stuff to the point of, we don't really need to worry about these trillions of dollars in military spending. That's a campfire, was compared to the sun. Terrible accounting, sir. Even proportions. And I'm so sick to death that is he supposed to be a conservative? Trying to tell us that, this amount of government spending that we think is worse than, just wasteful. It actually is detrimental and paints targets on our back to get our World Trade Centers knocked down and any other, whatever piece of terrorism comes next. He says, not only, even if we ignore all that, it's just a drop in the bucket. We can afford that.
Yeah.
Is
and
it
the whole
38?
GDP thing about the debt and the spending, it's like,
that was so stupid.
He allowed Dave. Okay. Dave was not his best in this. Dave was trying to be very friendly, I think, and it was hard, but he was trying to be softer. I think he was, because he let Coleman go about government spending as a whole is what puts us into debt. It's not military spending that puts us into debt. Like all of it.
Gosh.
Like he went so focused on that. He pulled everyone off the real track of what sound fundamental economics is. And I think Dave let him do that. And that's that, to your point. Dave loses points there, and he conceded a lot of points in this. And once again, Coleman had help here to freeze point, Jason. If you want.
On that note,
Coleman
though, I gotta say, on the economic side of things, I just remembered he pulled out the Federal Reserve critiques are antiquated. They're no longer relevant because our inflation has been steady over the last few years. So I really hope that you and Bob just tear that apart.
Yeah, and what's crazy is Jason didn't mention. Well, I'm sorry, Dave didn't mention the devaluation of the dollar. Not about even the inflation. All the we're worth 2.3 cents or 1.7 cents of the $1 we used to be since the 1913. Like, whatever that number you want to argue is that, but it's like less than 3% of its value. So the devaluation is also inflationary. It doesn't even have to be a direct rise in price.
Yeah, I grant you all that. Give Dave some credit. These things are awful hard to manage. And a lot of points when I think people were saying Dave conceded the point, it's like at some point you just don't want to waste all your time on one thing. You got to move on. You got a lot of things to cover. And
yeah, he was great. I'm not criticizing him.
I think Dave was just saying, I've made my point. The argument is, or the audience is going to think what they think. And I don't feel like I need to belabor the point. But people were just going to say that means he gave up on it or something, and I don't think that's right.
Yeah, that's good to point out. I've never done one of these debates, and I think I would be instantly crushed. So
they seem hard.
Major props to Dave. Yeah,
I'd be climbing through the camera to beat the heck out of somebody. What did you just say to me?
I've done 2 now.
Nice.
I still got the guy call me the grandson of a Nazi and wish I was dead in a ditch.
So you won.
That's a good sign. Yeah.
The guy wasted 3 hours of our audience's time, and I have a 2-minute clip where he just literally confesses that the whole point of the whole thing. And I'm like, you could have saved us 3 freaking hours, dude. And then I did the other one on Ukraine with Andy Samochik. That one was a little tougher. That was my first one. I was nervous. Look, anybody in the podcast space, do this. Test yourself. Put yourself in the fire. Even if you lose one or whatever, you get better at this. Iron sharpens iron. Like, I can only imagine if Bill Kristol debated more than once, he might actually have 1 point after like 10 or 15 of these. So, everybody improves.
He had his chance to do another debate. I don't think he ever will.
Oh, never. All right, let me continue this, gentlemen. Let me get this back up for us.
Yeah, I think we'll leave the rest of your thoughts on that maybe as a teaser for your episode with Bob, because I'm sure it's going to be great. I think we can perhaps move on to the next topic, another libertarian debate. Maybe you saw this on the Tom Woods show. Walter Block and Jacob Hornberger went at it. You've had Jacob on your show recently talking about another issue. But this one is around the Israel debate, and I really don't care to get too much into Israel is right versus wrong. We can, if you like, but I think for our audience, it's probably played out. And the interesting part about these are, again, the tactics that people use to debate. And is this persuasive? Is this the way that we, as libertarians, would want to model? Do we want to see more of this, or what went wrong? Could we do better? I'm rambling now, so maybe we just get into it. This,
if I may also too, this is also a beautiful thing about these. Okay, libertarian, generally non-aggressive principle, right? Non-aggression principle. Watch Hornberger go, man. Just because we're non-aggression doesn't mean we can't go at it, because we are passionate about our liberty for sure. So
yeah, so Jacob starts out the debate with his opening statement, and at the end of it, this is what his challenge to Walter is, because he feels Walter has abandoned libertarian principles by defending Israel. So that's where we're starting.
I want to present a challenge to you in this debate. I want to challenge you right here publicly to call for the immediate dismantling of the Israeli government under your principles of anarchy. I want you to call for anarchy within Israel right here now publicly, the immediate dismantling of the Israeli state. And if you're not willing to do that, and my hunch is that you're not willing to accept that challenge, then I challenge you to publicly, right now in this debate, renounce and denounce your support of anarchy and admit that it's not a viable paradigm or system that can be applied universally.
Now, as to his challenge, yes, I favor the dissolution of the Israeli government as long as every other government dissolves as well. But I certainly don't favor the dissolution of only the Israeli government and not any other government.
All right.
I think, I can't be sure, but I think right out of the gate, Jacob came out a little hot.
He did. He did.
I thought Walter really dropped the ball there. I thought he had an easy chance to say, yeah, let the Israeli government dissolve immediately. Because if he believes what he writes and says, he thinks that the system of private defense for that geographic piece of land or any person in it would be greater without the state getting in the way. Maybe I think that after October 7th, Walter Block, who I admire greatly, I think something snapped a little bit in his brain. He's been saying some things that I don't agree with, making some arguments about analogies of self-defense that I don't think are warranted. But and I think this is probably one of them. If he wasn't so hopping mad and scared and whatever concerned, I think he would have said, yeah, abolish the government by the means. All Israelis would be better off, or all people who reside in that geographical territory. They'd all be better off. They'd have different security contracts, and it'd be probably coming cheaper, and they sure wouldn't be as murderous. I mean, they'd have a legitimacy problem. They'd probably have a come to Jesus problem with all the other people. But he didn't do that. But I thought one of the most interesting things about this debate was just how we talk to each other. Jacob came out way too hot, in my opinion. Even though I disagree with quite a few things that Walter said, and Walter at the end,
Walter did not really respond. Walter
didn't.
just kind of let him do it. It was weird.
It's true. And I think like Jacob won, if there's such a thing. But like at the end, Walter's plea for why can't we have more dialogue rather than just kicking me out of all these organizations and shunning me and saying mean things. Doesn't iron sharpen iron? And like I said, I think something broke a little bit in Walter's head, but what he said at the end there, I completely agree with. And yet the way Jacob has been arguing certain points has been, I don't think the best way to persuade people. When we went back and forth a few times about open borders versus closed borders, I thought I detected some of that hostility that just didn't need to be there. And, I don't know why. Yeah, I hear you, Freedom Uncut. And, I mean, sometimes people get cranky. Hey, thanks, Freedom Uncut. What's the question that's cut off on my screen?
The question is, you do a great job of bringing humor, you, Adam, to these scholarly topics. How do we do a better job of making liberty-based topics interesting and cool?
Literally, I've never been asked about coolness. I do think humor helps. I also think that really, really, really trying to steelman the argument of your opponent is what gives you max credibility. If you can say their point and address all the things that they're concerned about, even better than the case they make, and then say still liberty is better after acknowledging all of these concerns. I think if you don't do that, you will be accused of either talking past your opponent or just not being serious. You're just pushing an ideology, and you just don't care about X, Y, and Z, who's going to be hurt by your policies. That's probably the best way. And as far as cool, I mean, drink heavily, obviously.
Makes you look cool, at least. Yeah. You made a good point about Jacob coming in hot. I think one of the first phrases he used was, your stance is repugnant and against all libertarian ideology. He didn't have to come out so hard. I know he has a disagreement with this, and I'll even agree with some of his points that it does seem like, especially when you say, well, yeah, Israel, if they if all the other countries abandon their governments, then I would say Israel can do that. That is also against anarcho-capitalist thought, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
Also, I disagree with what Israel has done from October 8th onwards, and I disagree with the way that project has conducted itself, for lack of a better words, for the last over 100 years. I think the process of trying to occupy this land was problematic. But if you don't understand how Jewish people feel all across the world after those images came out on October 7th, if you don't get why people would respond to that viscerally, if you don't understand why people's brains might have gotten a little bit broke and maybe they don't care about what happened October 6th, previously to the last 100 plus years, That's a pretty human reaction, and just to dismiss it is not wise. We are tribal people who care when our friends and neighbors get slaughtered. And on the Zionist side, the Israel side, I wish they understood that Arabs feel that same way too. You know, you can't kill your way if you're Israel. You cannot kill your way out of this problem. People from all across the world will feel the hurt of the people that you killed in order to accomplish whatever your goal is, and they will want to do violence against you. There's no way to kill your way through this. So I think you need a Ron Paul or a Harry Brown to try and clean up this mess, and even then it might be impossible. I don't know. I mean, how long have they been in those conditions? Since '67? I don't know how you heal from that. How, you know, I don't know.
Yes, and McChrystal math. What's 10 minus 2? 20.
Yeah.
This does not go away. It will not go away. Asymmetrical warfare will happen until it's resolved. And I really think the closest is Northern Ireland, or with Ireland, what happened with Ireland with IRA. I don't know if there's something closer, but that's the closest I can think of in my in my memory and stuff. Because the way it, and then no one really talks about that anymore. I just remember how the 80s were, you know, in late 70s.
Like, you know, the original Palestinians were trying to model their resistance on what Algiers did, pushing the French out. But the French had a France to go back to. These Jewish people, these Israelis, don't have anywhere to go back to. So, you know, you can't win the way that the terrorists won in that Algiers thing. So they started out with a bad model that couldn't have worked, even if they had, you know, legitimate grievances.
And we've got a couple questions in the chat as well. We'll get to, but please finish your thought. Jason, do you mind after Adam finishes his thought, we'll get Zach's point up and Justin's.
Oh, I finished. I forgot what I was saying.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
We're trying to manage this because we're trying to dance a fine line of all the people jumping in and trying to engage. So thank you everybody for your questions. They're really good.
Yeah, just to kind of tag along with Walter's point, I think Israel's a bit unique from other countries. They have an immediate threat all around them. If only Israel disbanded as a state, then they would certainly be annihilated. I think that's the point that the side Walter is on.
Yes, but the question is asking him to condemn. When Hornberger says condemn it or whatever, it's like he gave him a softball. So my real question is not being able to say that, because he would say that, but he could also say yes and, right? He could just say yes, I condemn it, whatever, not put conditions on it. That's what Israel do with every peace deal. They put conditions that are not worth, that don't work. So it's like, what is the driving behind that? It makes you question, what's his motivation? Is it actually a pure motivation? Is it really his heart? Is it the images? Are those images real? The 40 beheaded babies wasn't real. The ovens wasn't real. Much was. It was an atrocity. It was a terrorist act of awful proportions.
Part of the intransability, is that a word? Part of the reason this is so sticky and can't get solved is both sides believe that the other side is not acting in good faith. And both sides have credible reasons to say that. Also, there's no such thing as Israel, who has a brain and some thoughts. There's a huge swath of opinion about what should be done in Israel. And I'm sure the same thing is true of the people in Palestine. It's not like Hamas, there's one.
And I would like to clarify, I do not mean all the individual people. I'm talking about the nation state as it's acting in its way currently. Just like our government does, what it does is not necessarily a representation of us, right?
Oh, for sure. But even, the government, it's not just this one thing. It's competing power centers. And what actually ends up getting done is a thing that America did. But it's still, we shouldn't be sloppy saying that. I mean, we all do. It's not like you can help it. But America isn't a one thing like Godzilla that decides to do a thing and then does it. It's way weirder than that.
Excellent.
Yeah, and when you talk about dissolving the government, I think people just imagine that, okay, you no longer have access to any of those defense mechanisms anymore. And probably if you just hit a button and said, we're dissolving you, that might be the case. But if you build up things first, where you can have these structures in place that don't rely on a tyrannical government, that's one way out of it.
All the equipment, none of it evaporates. It gets for sale.
Right. Yeah. So things would still exist. People would still want to defend themselves, I assume. and they probably have good reason that they need to defend themselves. I think that's evident after October 7th, especially. And I don't know all the history. I don't know enough to really say who's right and wrong. So
even if you did know it all,
who started it?
You can't disentangle such a thing. You just can't.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong here. We need to literally get to the freaking table and go, we're all culpable here. We're all agreeing right now. We're doing this together. We have to. This is the only way forward. We just have to stop right now, and that will start the culture. It will start a culture. I'm pretty sure the sons of the Ireland people in Ireland don't have that same resentment that their parents and grandparents.
I think we all might have opinions, but I think the smart thing to do is just to not say you think you know how this is going to go or how it should go. I think the wisest thing to do is just back away. Pull a Ron Paul moment and say, we have been involved in this hornet's nest, and it's for our own lasciviousness and power madness for decades, and we apologize. We're backing away. Nobody gets any money. We're sorry. I wish all of you the best. And no one's going to be happy with that, but that's the only way to start cleaning your own hands of this horror show.
100%.
Otherwise, you just put your thumb on some scale, and someone is going to be furious because you just killed a bunch of people, and we just have to back out of this mess. We'd have to.
Look, non-interventionist does not mean isolationist.
Absolutely.
It means it's so funny to your point, like how we conflate terms and how it's like, oh, you're this, so you must be XYZ. And 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, but not 8, because 8 is reserved for the people who think that thing.
Splitter.
It's like, oh, okay, right.
I thought we were the people's friend of Judea.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe to continue Walter's argument, get a little more background. Can you go to number 10? He talks about this is in the context of open borders, but it's really also, should Israel be letting people into the borders?
Okay, now I want to start talking a little bit about the issues that that Jacob raised in criticism of me. The first one is open borders. Yes, I'm in favor of open borders. And I think Jacob agrees with me on this. And there should be no barriers. However, there are two problems with open borders. One of them is there are rapists and murderers out there. We don't want murderers and rapists out there to come in. So we have to have some sort of protection against murderers and rapists coming in. And what I say in a whole series of articles, I forget whether I have a book on that or not, I say the following: look, let's privatize every square inch of the country. And then and all the waterways, all the roads, all the land. And now if somebody comes in, they have to come in with permission. And if they come in with permission, and the host is responsible for their behavior, well, then that'll solve the problem. So the libertarian answer is how to resolve open borders with safety is private property rights.
This is another spot where Walter really dropped the ball, in my opinion. Yes, anarchists have an immediate dodge to this thorny problem. Privatize everything. I don't know whether, the right answer will be procured, but at least it'll be private property. The owner decides, freedom of association, supply and demand, market forces. Hopefully, an analysis of risk. Hopefully it'll all work out. I believe that that'll work out. But Jacob isn't interested in that. He's like, yeah, I know, but we don't have that, and somebody has to set a policy. I say the libertarian policy, this is Jacob, has to be 100% open borders, and Walter clearly does not. Based on what he says, he thinks something must be done to prevent rapists and murderers at the very least.
And some are very fine people, I'm sure.
If by open borders you mean
best rapist? So yeah, I thought that. Talk about talking past one another. He spent all that time. He doesn't take that much time to say, private property is the only logically sound position here, but you have to be able to address the subject in a statist system that we find ourselves in. And Walter just didn't give him one syllable. So I call that a dropped pass.
Yeah, just to open that with, well, there are bad people out there, so we have to stop them, of course. Well, yeah, you're not just going to invite them into your home, but yeah, what does the enforcement mechanism look like if you're going to?
Exactly. What policy are you prescribing? And what do you do to enforce it? I went back and forth with Jacob a lot on this, and Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can snap my fingers and say private property and be done with the whole thorny issue, but that's not an answer right now. Some rule has to be enforced right now.
In this world, like I'm looking at this, and Jason, you and I talked about it, like the nation is like a collective idea, culture thing, and the American culture. Yes, we don't need a piece of paper to tell us our rights from some group. Like I get it, but it's the best that's been of the things that have come out. So I'll defend that thing as the greatest thing so far until we can find something better, right? So I will do that as best I can. So we need to protect that. So I understand the nation staying closed in that way, but it's like not letting people come and go. They don't have to be citizens. They don't have to be on the tit of the government. They don't have to count towards the census, towards political voting, towards your representative. How can you not separate? You clearly like, hey, you commit a crime, obviously you're out, but you've already committed a crime. That's the crime. Like existing isn't a crime. And like, I'm a first generation American. I come from a very different ideology. Like my parents earned it from Germany. Like my mom escaped East Germany in 1953. It's crazy. But looking at this whole thing, it's like there's a way to do this where it's like, it's like you don't have the rights we do, except for the human rights, the inalienable human rights. You just don't get the citizenship stuff of the country. I mean, I don't know. It's like a hybrid way of figuring this out without amnesty, without.
What's so great about these conversations is you start thinking about them. Let's say American A invites foreigner B to come live on his property and not hurt anybody else. It is an imposition to have a government say, no, we won't allow that because we own the entire country. And it's like, yeah, that's true. But then they start getting tax benefits and welfare, and then they get to vote. And you're like, well, there's only 330 million of us here. What if 500 million people came over from India and all voted us into, the caste system or something?
Minnesota, see Michigan. The Democrats brought in these groups to vote for them, and then they go, hey, let's vote for ourselves. And the Democrats go, shit, we didn't think about that.
But what's so great is once you get Americans thinking, it doesn't make any sense for this guy, even if he's peaceful, to come over and be able to vote away my stuff. Well, neither does the guy who lives 3 houses down have any right to vote me out of my stuff. Once you start thinking that voting is illegitimate, to vote to use the power of the state to extract wealth and order other people around, that's just inherently illegitimate. It doesn't matter if it's a guy who came here last week or it's a guy whose family's been here 4 generations. That's illegitimate. And hopefully when we start talking about these open borders problems, people will start to kind of get that sense. Yeah, it doesn't really matter who you are. Who the hell do you think you are voting away my revenue? Voting to up my property taxes? Who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah, I was gonna say that, hey, first let's just stop incentivizing the mass immigration, right? That would be one thing. But you got to the deeper root of it is that there are people who can select where these funds go. They can already take your money and do what they want with it just because they got to vote.
And let's not pretend that the immigration under Biden was some organic flow of people trying to make a better life for themselves. There was some shady stuff going around with NGOs, and I do believe the DNC was part of it.
Trains, the human trains.
The intellectual, the left side of the state regime intellectual people were openly bragging about this as this is our cure or our path to electoral victory from here on out. I mean, this obviously wasn't organic, and that goes. It is funny just having Biden no longer there and a guy who's perceived as being harsh. That stemmed the tide quite a bit. I don't think
that's what I was going to say. Is like the message was sent with his election,
right?
Everybody shut it down at that point, right? So like the bleeding has been tourniqueted and stopped. Now we can work on the wound. Well, the wound is anyone who's now acting out who's already breaking any other law anyway, right? Okay, now you're broke a law. Okay, now you're not a citizen, whatever. Now we can address it from that perspective as someone who aggressed on someone else. Once again, we're talking crimes with a victim, not victimless crimes, not talking drug to our point, as we
are.
always do, right? But the second thing too is like, no, we had to increase ICE to 100 billion through 2029 to root out and like take away people from South Korea who are on a different visa, but they're trying to up the timetable to get out of the tariff thing that Trump imposed on them. So they're trying to where's the logic just doesn't work, right? Intent of the law versus the letter of the law. All these things get into it. And this is why it is. So just reduce it all so it doesn't have the ability to be manipulated, misunderstood, misused, and misabused.
Lower the power of the state. Absolutely. And I should say, I'm not in favor of ICE rounding up people from in front of a Home Depot, or yanking my landscaper and taking them out of the country, or, ruining the lives of peaceful people. I don't think people should, have violated the law, and I sure as heck don't want them to come here and be violent in any way. Those people, my neighbor 3 doors down, if he's violent, I wouldn't mind if he's yeeted. But I don't like, like Trump said, he was going to get rid of the worst first or something like that, and then discovered that that's hard, especially with these sanctuary cities sort of getting in the way. But he still wanted the numbers, so I think he got lazy. And I don't like seeing militarized police doing anything to peaceful people, especially when we live since the summer of love, for the last 5 years, we've lived in a anarcho-tyranny where violence apparently is just fine as long as the right people are committing it. Mm-hmm. And, you're going to walk right past a bunch of Antifa being a general nuisance and bumping people, shouting at people, looting stores and burning a few of them, and then go round up the guys that are standing in front of Home Depot, trying to get a job for X number of bucks an hour. I don't want that. Put the police on the violent people, please, would you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to keep this rolling, the next clip from Freedom Uncut says, notice there were no ICE raids when they had to do all of the building for the Kirk Memorial.
That's right.
By the way, I will tell you this. We're going to talk later as the dust starts to settle on this thing, but Tyler Robinson did not pull a trigger on that roof. There was not a rifle on that roof. His rifle was certainly not on that roof. And so possibly that might not have been him on the roof.
So if I take Tyler as the shooter and you get the field, you'll make an even money bet with me?
First of all, Mr. Haman, what amount are we talking? Because I don't have poker. I was in the 2008 World Series of Poker. I was in the $1,000 event that I bought my way in, sir. I sucked. I made it 3-4 hours and was out in the first, third, maybe top third or something. So
we don't have to make it. We don't have to make it dangerous. It's just like
can we make it? Can we? You live in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Let's make it a meal. We'll just make it a meal.
Okay.
We'll go out.
Okay, you got it.
I was just there, but I was with my family and my girlfriend's family. We all had birthdays and did a whole thing. So, but let's make a meal, and we'll be at Freedom Fest next year anyway, so we can cash in Freedom Fest.
But here's the tough thing. Okay, you got a bet.
How do we establish
that's
the proof?
The problem.
We'll never cash it in on this bet. That's the problem.
If we had this bet on who killed JFK, we wouldn't be able to settle it.
I will not say you're wrong, but
later.
if I do get compelled to change my mind to believe that he did it, if I see the 3 seconds of him laying there with it actually going off before he got up and ran, things like that, the other thing, I can be compelled to change my mind. I was compelled.
I'll be. Hey, how about this? I'll be your impartial judge here.
Perfect.
I have no stake in this.
I love it.
It's
and look,
it's like
it's worth it. We're gonna have a nice meal, regardless, right?
It's like that pawn shop meme. You just asked for the video and the poof of smoke. I'm like, best I can offer here is a coerced confession.
But I love it. I really do. Let's make that a nice dinner bet or something.
You got it.
All right.
You're on. Shake.
Mark.
Shake on it, so.
Okay. Well, anyways, yeah, where were we? We're talking about Hornberger. So he is, for people that don't know, he's a libertarian, but he's one of those minarchist libertarians, our mortal enemies. And
that is simply not true. Jacob has been an absolute hero for decades.
Yes, I'm
absolutely.
teasing. I'm joking, of course. Yes, much respect for Jacob. But in this case, he's destroying anarchy in this next clip. That's number 7, I believe. Let's see what he says. So based on Walter's response to the question, yes, I don't support Israel dissolving their government if no one else does. That was where we lead off with this.
And you made the same mistake when you referred to that. Will you call for the abolition of Israel? Israel and the Israeli government are two separate entities, Walter. The government's different. And thank you for acknowledging that anarchy is not a legitimate paradigm. You know, I've been saying that for decades, that limited government is the only thing that works. And the minute you say that anarchy will only work if everybody else says anarchy, you have destroyed your support of the anarchy paradigm. And you need to stop calling yourself an anarcho-capitalist.
Yeah, it's like I said, Walter dropped the ball. He didn't need to give Jacob that punchline, and Jacob took it. I don't think he's right, you know, but
he did.
I think minarchism is inherently the unstable thing, the thing that cannot last. But he feels differently.
It can either grow or collapse. It doesn't
Yeah.
really. It's not sustainable, right? They do.
I honestly think it's
huge state or whatever.
Yeah, I guess it can collapse and then something else will grow, but it's a cancer. It cannot help but metastasize. And there's just no reason for Walter to give him that free shot. That was dumb, especially since him saying abolish the Israeli government isn't going to make it actually happen. But surely he thinks that it would actually be stronger if it were private. Surely he thinks that.
Yeah, I don't think one person slipping up and saying something anti-anarcho-capitalist or perhaps his opinion of it is that, yeah, if one country doesn't do it, then the rest can't, whatever. I don't think that one person's opinion totally invalidates the philosophy of anarchism.
And just to be clear, just to reset here, we're having a huge love fest in the chat. We're having Justin and we're having Zach go back and forth.
Whoa.
I hope to try to read through this, but
we don't
it's
need
like
people
some
to see that
theological stuff. It's like some theological discussion. I'm loving it, but look at these guys go back and forth. And I love, this is my favorite because this is what I accuse Justin of too. And Justin, it's because I respect you, man. It's because I love you. But the smartest dogs are easiest to train, man. That's Michael Malice. He's got it on the head. You are highly intelligent, man. You're right there. Because I was where you were too, man. Come on our side. Come on. You're right there.
Yeah. Hey, big respect
we
to
love
Justin. He always has really, really good questions for us. So
excellent. And yeah, we're all open to all ideas, and we welcome him to challenge us because he's had one of those where it's like, I'll concede that point. Yeah. So kudos.
Freedom Uncut says, over under on how many books Jacob writes about the Kirk assassination. I say 3.5.
Are we allowed to count 12-part video series as a book?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Fair.
I'll
count as one.
I'll take the over, assuming he's
one
in good
Horton
health.
book or everyone else's
right.
lifetime career.
I'll take the over.
Yes. All right. Well, let's keep going with this. So back to Israel a little bit. I wonder what you think of Walter's arguments here. This first one, number 6, a lot of people who defend Israel will use this one, but it's basically that it's Hamas's fault that Israel has to kill so many civilians in Gaza.
I was in the midst of my puppet show. I guess this is a puppet show. Okay, here I am. I have my puppet show, and I'm the Hamas guy, and I've got a knife, and I'm going to kill you, dirty Jews, because you're evil, you're abomination, and you have a gun. You're more powerful than me, and you also have a child right behind you. And the question comes, should you shoot me? Well, if you shoot me right here, you shoot my 2 children who are totally innocent. We all acknowledge that. Or should you let me kill you and your children? And I think the libertarian answer, I mean, not just the libertarian answer, any answer that is not suicidal says, when you're being attacked, you're able to defend yourself. And that's what the Jews are doing, or the Israelis are doing, Jews too. Although I certainly agree with Jacob that Jews and Israel are not synonyms. So now you shoot me and my children die. And now the question comes, well, whose fault is it? And the answer is, even though it's your bullet, it's not your fault. It's my fault. So I don't know if there's 60,000 people dead. That's a Hamas figures, but let's just stipulate that it's true arguendo. Who is responsible for those deaths? It's Hamas, not Israel.
Before you give your opinions, I just have to say the puppets added nothing for me. They did not persuade me.
Were they Beanie Babies? I'm like, dude, yeah. he was even wrong on that trend.
Yeah, they were subtractive, not additive.
I gotta show this.
Oh dear.
Anyways, yeah, what do you think?
I'll
persuasive?
No. I mean, like I said, I think something snapped a little bit in Walter's brain, and he's giving the best argument he can give. I mean, there is a libertarian principle of self-defense, and it is true that exactly where you draw the line depends on context, specific situations, specific people, the culture even. If, I'm walking down the street and I look across the street and I see a guy's holding a gun, and I look at him a little closer and he starts to raise it and starts to point it at me, it isn't the case that I have to wait for him to actually shoot me before I perceive that as a legitimate threat and shoot him first. We don't have to just take infinite shots before we end the threat. So that's one point, a fairly clear example. And then on the other, example, I look across the street and I see a guy, and maybe he has a gun, maybe he doesn't. And so I drop a nuke on on the entire side of the street, kill everybody, or call it a claymore nuke. It only aims the one way. And the argument, the difficult part is the situation that's been playing out in Gaza since October 7th. What analogy, does that fit? And Walter's trying to make the case that we have to do it. We couldn't do anything else. After all, what rockets do come from there.
Yeah. So
hang on a second.
Sorry.
Did we lose you?
No, I had that thing where I've got 500 tabs open, and all of a sudden the provoked theme song starts wailing at me.
Oops.
Anyway, so and I thought it was you guys. I'm like, is this part of the show? So yeah, like in the Israel-Gaza situation, where does that fall on the example line, on the analogy line? Is this legitimate self-defense, or is this a massive overreaction? Because we do have this proportionality thing, like, when the little classic example, a little kid steals an apple from your apple cart, you're not allowed to kill him and his family. And I'm not going to try and solve, like, what should Israel do? How would you libertarianishly handle this situation? I have opinions. I don't care to share them. It doesn't matter. I definitely think Walter's case doesn't land as far as the analogy goes. I think they're way on the other side of the libertarian principle of self-defense.
Yeah, it seems to be he's assuming that there's an active threat, right? That
at all times.
There's someone, there's someone literally threatening you right now with a knife or a gun, saying, "I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to kill you." And then at that point, it makes sense to react. And even if they are hiding behind someone, you kind of have to do what you have to do to stop it. But when something's already happened, and like Dave Smith makes this point a lot, it's like someone came to your house and robbed you and perhaps even killed a member of your family. Then they leave, they're gone. They're not an active threat to you anymore. Of course, that's horrible, and of course you want justice. But is justice going back to that, to where they live, their apartment building, and blowing up the entire thing because they're in there and you have to get revenge on this one person?
Or the daddy's home protocol, where we think we've identified a Hamas person and we could kill him anytime, but why don't we wait until he gets home and get the whole family?
Or we could do the Afghanistan one where we could just target the guy who's been helping us for the whole time and kill him and his 7 kids or something.
And I know while we were prosecuting wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, we called everybody a terrorist that we killed. I mean, unless they were 3 years old, because why wouldn't you?
Well, if they can hold and pick up a gun, that's the whole point about this civilian number. So ridiculous.
Of course, we don't know the numbers. Neither do they. But governments will say that everybody they killed, they were justified in killing. Trump is telling us that everybody on these motorboats was a drug czar coming to kill us all. We don't have the slightest idea who was on any of these boats. Governments love to kill. They love to lie about it. And I don't trust any of these numbers.
And this is the thing. Like I look at this example and I use this different analogy. Like if I watched a child or an adult being raped by another person or being attacked by another person, and that moment, my aggression towards that person, I'm willing to sacrifice my personal liberty to protect that person in that moment. So like I've made that decision, right? Like I've made that decision on my principle anyway to help people who I deem helpless or something, right? Like especially children, for sure. So if I were to do something, yes, I take now the responsibility of whatever actions I did to whatever happened, but I have already resolved that in my head to replace myself with that, almost like I've absolved myself because I'll accept the responsibility of that because the greater good is to protect that child in that moment, for example.
Yeah, I'm also not positive I wouldn't just completely lose my humanity if I lived in that region on either side of the line.
Philadelphia, SEPTA, there was a train ride, a woman getting raped by a guy, 10 people holding their cell phones up recording the thing. Not a single person stepped in. You can look it up. It's a known story if you look for it, but it's there. And you're like, how does this happen? That you wouldn't, I mean, it's like it's just instant. It should be instinct to protect. Like
you're absolutely right, Mark, but on the margin, some of those people in that train know the name Daniel Penny, and they might think, well, I know what's going to happen to me. I mean, not only am I putting myself at risk, but the state is going to come along and try and put me in jail. And we turn our society into nobody look, recorded at best, but nobody look. It's somebody else's problem, and our humanity just sinks. Who's JLH Views? That ain't right.
That is Justin.
Mike does not make right.
It's an interesting question. We could take a step up on the balcony for a bit and go higher level.
If I may, from down here, see my hands right here. So Justin, I put a post up on the Facebook on the Boomer Social Network, basically something about if you think anarchy won't lead, and won't lead to state something, if your only argument against anarchy is that it'll lead to a state, you've already lost the debate. I think it was somebody sent by who's our friend that we always get, one of the people on X, right? Anyway, I put that up. It's generated all this buzz. So anarchy's been a big thing. I've been trying to explain. It's like, guys, no rulers doesn't mean no rules. It doesn't mean you can't collaborate. You obviously have personal responsibility. These things become cultural and this other stuff. So
you can also
Jason, setting it up that way. So
yeah, you can also tell from the way he framed the question, he's sort of thinking of Mad Max world, or just gangs are fighting against gangs, or the Crips versus the Bloods or something.
Boomer Social Network is littered with the misunderstanding of what anarchy actually, like the principle, I guess, of anarchy.
Like if you introduced anarchy, somewhere else where people wanted to live like that, some third world hellhole, maybe it would look like that with warlords. But if you introduced it here, violence is expensive and nobody really wants it. What they want is security. So there would be multiple competing law providing companies, first of all, but second of all, security providing companies. And since they know violence is bad and horrible for business, we would all come to arrangements by which we arbitrate if we can't resolve the dispute internally. And you could even have arbitration above that if the parties aren't involved. And because nobody is enslaved to the system, unlike the current one, there's competition. We can ebb and flow, move our business to the companies that handle business the right way. And if you happen to get a bad actor, one of the security companies started being run by MS-13 or something, they're not allowed to just extort people for money. The other people will not give them.
Hey, that's
business.
A government's job.
Exactly.
And how dare you push for BDS?
Yeah, and MS-13 or whatever isn't going to be able to be stronger than every other security company in any particular area. Conflict and stealing and all this stupid behavior is counterproductive, and it doesn't just win in a civilized society. The people who don't want to live like that gather together and beat the crap out of them. I mean, I guess the stronger gang would win, but it's us. It's peaceful people. By the way, the only reason that it's not murder and mayhem out there right now is that in general, our society is a peaceful one. We don't want to behave that way. Your local cop can't prevent all these. If we all went insane and started killing one another, the cops couldn't do anything about it. There's hardly any of them. The thing that makes us peaceful is the fact that we want peace. And none of that would change if we eliminated the monopoly state and decided to get security companies that actually worked for us. So if you're thinking Mad Max, that is not right. Read some books by the Tannehills, Bob Murphy, Murray Rothbard. I don't stand by every single syllable or sentence any one of them says, but they'll give you a sense of what anarchy would look like. And it's not mayhem. Nobody wants mayhem.
And when you look at it, like, look,
I said Bob.
Amendment,
yeah,
the Second Amendment helps protect us from this too. It's like, where do all these broken children attack? Gun-free zones that they know are gun-free. So They know that these places are susceptible. If everybody's strapped, or if a culture is to carry, how many people would get out of hand?
Especially if the culture had
would,
it where you wouldn't get hurt, prosecuted. Everyone would applaud if you took down the bad guy. What if our culture was like that?
Right. Right. And only the first person shooting would be the one that would be allowed, that would be the okay game, right? Or whatever, the first aggressor in that respect.
Oh, and his whole family,
or whatever.
and everybody
it can be done.
Everyone he works with.
It can be done, right?
Yeah.
And I love Justin. Justin is such a great, smart thinker about that, but he's still got, it's just that people think that state must be in some way, even if it's in the smallest way, some way. I've come to the conclusion that I find it doesn't ever stay small.
We might have Thunderdome events. That's not illegal. We might have them. I don't know.
Well, the White House is setting up a big MMA fight, right, for their, what is it, 250th anniversary of America. Hey, William's here.
Yes, sir. Hi, William. We got to get back together. We got to talk AI again.
Yes. So maybe one more we can hit. Kind of on the same topic, Jacob talks about how this conflict should be resolved. Speaking of resolving conflicts, this is an international situation, so there is no true overarching government to decide these things, but we do have kind of international courts and opinions that get out there, and they do have some influence. So number 9, Mark, if you got that one, this is what Jacob says about how courts should resolve this situation, but we can take it as a higher level view of libertarian philosophy.
Also, with all due respect, I wish we put the logo over Tom Woods' face. Just for future reference. Just to help us out for the future. I know we've never had the illustrious Tom Woods on our show. So Tom, if you're happen to hear this, please come on. We'd love to have a conversation. I'm just saying. All right. I shall play it now.
The first point that Walter made about that the Jews mixed their labor with the land, and they're entitled to this property in perpetuity, and that they're just retaking what belongs to them. But there's a problem there, Walter, and that problem is that that's what courts are for. When somebody is claiming a piece of property that has been adversely held by another person, he goes to court to establish title, and that's what courts are for. You know that. You filed a lawsuit for defamation against the New York Times, showing that you believe in defamation laws, that believe in court system, and you, of course, in the court system that you want to abolish, supposedly as part of your anarchist philosophy. So,
oh, did we lose Adam again?
I don't know. So what are your thoughts, Justin? Jason? Jeez.
I was really hoping Adam would come in and save me from this, from having to talk about it.
Do we just get caught up? So courts. Well, so allegedly, and I'm not familiar with this whole thing, but allegedly Walter Blocks used the courts to sue. And it's like, well, if you didn't believe in them, why are you using the courts? And it's like, well, obviously reality works too. It's like it's kind of his Hornberger's argument is weak from that kind of perspective, because like, what do you want him to do? Not like sue per the courts that he could use, like, because his only avenue or something. But at the same point, Hornberger makes a good point about the course. So anyway, what are your any thoughts you have about that?
Yeah, I don't know, because having a court system is something that anarchists also promote as kind of an arbitration service, a private service. And I, to be honest, I'm not super familiar with the whole philosophy, so I don't know if that's really the best way to go. It does seem like at some point you're going to run into a dispute that is difficult to solve, difficult to resolve without some authority like making you go to the place and show up for a trial. Yeah, I don't know. Adam, what do you think? Did you catch any of that?
Did I hear someone say estoppel?
Estoppel. He did mention estoppel.
Yeah, I in general think that Walter's theory of property rights doesn't conform to anyone I've ever heard of. I think in general, the principles Jacob was trying to point to about how you decide property disputes were in general right. Some of them apply here, some of them don't. But just some claim from antiquity about nothing to do with a lineage of possession, nothing particular to do with even genetics exactly. It's like a religion. My religion gives me, despite the fact
Worse than that, it's geopolitical. It's Western Europeans, man.
And on the other exactly,
we create all the problem.
And on the other side of this, you've got people who said, "Yeah, okay, but I lived there just a few years ago," and that doesn't necessarily mean they get claim to the property, but it seems stronger than something just buried in antiquity and with a murky theory of collective ownership. And as far as just how these things are resolved, I certainly don't think if you guys are like hinting at some sort of one world government sort of thing, I say no. All political units have to be, devolved down to the smallest possible unit. So it has to be decided on the ground here. And I don't think
subsidiarity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The principle thereof, and that doesn't mean I see a solution here. I mean, I think these people are fighting, and again, absent a Harry Brown moment that was believable or a Ron Paul moment, I don't think anything's going to be done to get these people to stop fighting. And with every death, channeling McChrystal, you're going to get more fighters. So good luck, fellas. Like I said, I think we should just extricate ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I gotta wind it down. I'm recording with Bob in 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us. Hey, can you give us how to get a hold of you and everything? Once again, Adam Haman, Haman Nature. Please put a word out for Bob. We'd love to have a conversation with him as well.
I definitely will. You could find my YouTube in quotes, Haman Nature, Haman. I also have a Substack you can get at hamannature.com. For some reason that doesn't work. hamannature.substack.com. I'm on X as @ReRazer. Good luck with that. RERAZER. It's a poker sort of mixed metaphor, something like that.
I keep putting your name with that just because it doesn't say like @Adam Haman.
It's an old account. I didn't feel like making a new one. You can also find Haman Nature Show on X. It's much smaller, but you can find me there. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I think you guys are great. This was fun. And
thank you.
Let's do it again.
Jason, anything?
Yeah, no, really appreciate it. Hope we got you warmed up for a great episode with Bob. And yeah, take care.
All right, boys.
I guess that's how it goes.
It's been too long since I've cared. I keep the pain inside my head. But this reckless life of a bandit will surely take me to my grave. I've got my eyes